Hi guys, it's me, yours truly, Beverly Sherelle Johnson, lifestyle health coach and consultant, registered nurse for over 33 years, known as the uncommon flexitarian and the creator of Eat What. Eat What is my weekly program that gives you resourceful information and education as to the many USDA and FDA food safety and health concerns. Now, I just don't wish to alarm you, but I also wish to give you solutions, concrete solutions to build your immunity, to build your overall health, so that you can look good, feel good, and have a more positive outlook on life. Welcome, welcome to another edition of Eat What. First time members, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're a first time member, we're so glad that you can join us. Members and first time visitors, remember that you have never missed an episode of Eat What, because if you ever cannot view us live, you can always go to the Facebook group and click on the Files tab. On the Files tab, you will see every article, everything that we have shared in reading material on our program. If you go over to the Media tab and go under Videos, you will see every video that we have ever done since the beginning. So, as a member, you have never missed out on anything on Eat What. Okay? Alrighty then. Well, let's get into today's program. Let's talk about salt and pepper part two. As you recall, last week, when we did the subject on the same topic, let's talk about salt and pepper, we talked about 14, well, we discovered that there were 14 different types of salt in the world. We discussed only 7 of them, and some of them, one of them was very, very rare, coming only from Japan. Others were more familiar to us, such as the pink Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, kosher salt, many and many others. Now, we also learned that sodium is the component of salt, salt being inorganic and the result of a positive and a negative ion. We have learned that it is the sodium content in the salt that gives us all those nasties if we get too much of it, such as high blood pressure and diabetes and other health problems. But if we keep our salt intake below or at 2,300 milligrams, 2,300 milligrams per day, we're doing just fine. But of course, our diets and our food fares sometimes and most of the time, because of what we're eating, go way over that. In fact, experts have said we usually eat over 3,400 milligrams per day, just on the average. So it behooves us to watch our sodium content and to find alternatives to find that salty taste that we need, and in order and to keep our health in pure alignment, okay? In pure alignment with health. Now, in today's program, we're going to review the remaining 7. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first salt we're discussing today is Fleur de Sel, and Fleur is Fleur, Fleur, and it is French for the flower of salt. The flower of salt is a sea salt. It is blue and grayish in color, blue and grayish in color, and it is hand harvested from the tidal pools from Brittany, France. Now, this is a very laborious process, and the process is very labor intensive. They use a very specialized wooden rake to lightly draw the salt off of the waters. Now, this, I understand, can only be done on the brightest and most sunniest days there in France. And so that sort of limits what they can do. But of course, it does also hike the price up. At $80 per 5 pounds, it is often called the caviar of the salts. The caviar of the salts. So what they described a Fleur de Sel a little bit finer. It is a very thin and flaky salt. Okay, it is the caviar of salts, Fleur de Sel, and if you get a chance to maybe not at $80 per 5 pounds, but if you get a chance to taste the salt, I think it's something that you will definitely enjoy. The next one, Kala Lamak, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's KalaNamak. Kala Lamak is also called the black salt, and that's in the region of Nepal. The black salt is a Himalayan salt. Yes, it is. It's a Himalayan salt that has been packed in a jar along with charcoal, herbs, seeds, and bark. Now, this gives this salt a very unique flavor. Wait, let me just back up a little bit. After it's packed in those substances inside the jar, it is placed in a furnace. I don't want to skip a step there. It is placed in a furnace for at least 24 hours. The charcoal, the herbs, the seeds, and the bark infused into the salt, giving it a very unique flavor that is very popular in the egg-free dishes. Egg-free dishes, you want the taste of eggs, but you don't want perhaps the animal proteins. This is your go-to salt for that. Kala Namak. Kala Namak, okay? The black salt. Alrighty, this is that go-to salt. It has a very eggy taste, but of course, there are no eggs in use. Very popular among vegan and vegetarian recipes. Kala Namak. The next salt is the flake salt. The flake salt, which is harvested from salt water through evaporation, evaporation and other means. Evaporation and other means. It is irregularly shaped. It's very salty and it is mineral. It is mineral, has light mineral content, and it dissolves away quickly. And it is used. It is used as a finishing salt for meat. That is flake salt. Flake. Flake salt, harvested from salt water through evaporation. It can also go through boiling or any other means of evaporation. And it is irregularly shaped. It has low mineral content, and it dissolves very quickly. It is a finishing salt that's used with meat. Finishing salt that's used with meat if you're eating meat. All right. The next salt is black Hawaiian salt. Black Hawaiian salt is a black lava salt from the volcanic islands of Hawaii. And if you've been to Hawaii or have relatives such as I do who stay in Hawaii, who live and are native to Hawaii, then this is a very popular salt there. It comes, like I said, from the volcanic islands, and its color comes from the activated charcoal, which is added. This is not a naturally black salt, but the activated charcoal is added to the salt. This salt is coarse, it's crunchy, and it's great, I understand, if for pork as well as seafood. Black Hawaiian salt. Black Hawaiian salt. One thing to remember here, the activated charcoal is added to this salt. Okay, it's added to the salt. This is not a naturally black salt. Okay, not a naturally black salt. The next salt is red Hawaiian salt. Red Hawaiian salt is also a Alea salt. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Aleaea, Alea salt. Red Hawaiian salt is an Alea salt. This salt is unrefined. That's one of the unique properties here. This is unrefined. It is a red salt, and it gets its name from the iron. Okay, remember iron. It gets its name from the iron from the volcanic clay Alea. Now, red Hawaiian salt, like you say, if you have family members such as I do, who live and are native to Hawaii, then they could probably give you a lot of great information on this red Hawaiian salt, and they will also perhaps even be using it. So if you get a chance to use this salt, really, really check it out. The iron changes the color of the salt to reddish, a reddish in color because of the iron mineral, and that comes from the volcanic clay. Comes from the red volcanic clay in that area. And historically, this type of salt has been used for blessing tools. Okay, it was used in that way for blessing tools. This also was used for cleansing, and it was used for purification. So if you know anything about the volcanic ashes, that's an ingredient that is always used in cleansing. Well, not always, I should say. A lot of times used in cleansing, the bentonite clays and such as this. Well, this is another clay. This is a salt from another clay. This one being the volcanic clay from the Alea clay. This is a clay that is also good with cleansing in the system. So, like I said, if you take a trip to Hawaii, definitely check out this salt as well, the native to the island of Hawaii, as long as the previous salt that we just discussed, the black Hawaiian salt. Okay? All righty. Smoked salt. Smoked salt is a coarse salt that is slowly smoked up to 2 weeks over a wood fire. And the wood could be any variety type of wood. I found this to be very, very interesting. The wood could be your hickory wood, your mesquite wood, your apple, your oak, or any other type of wood that you would use for smoking. Now, the smoked salt, of course, works best if you're going to use, or you desire to have a smoky flavoring to any of your foods. All right, if you desire to have a smoky flavoring to any of your foods, then this would be the salt to use. All right, this would be the one to use. And it's flavors not only meats. Of course, when you think of salting, of course, a lot of times you think about meats, but not only just meats, but if you desire to give a smoky flavor to any of your vegetable fares, to give it a different flavor, then this is a very, very good salt to use, your smoked salt. Last and not least is your pickling salt, the pickling salt. And a lot of people, when I discussed this with them, they did not know, of course, they hadn't pickled anything. They did not know that pickling required a salt. Well, yes, it does. And those of us who come from families who did a lot of pickling, or taking the cucumbers and making them pickles, so that's where your pickles come from, and did any other pickling of vegetables or things, if you come from that background, then you are more familiar with pickling salts. Of course, pickling is a process that has been used for centuries to preserve your foods, particularly during the times where we did not have refrigeration, or refrigeration was not as well as it is today. And in the pickling salts, it does not contain any iodine. So this is not a salt if you're looking for gaining your iodine content back into your body. We did discuss that a little bit last week. Those who needed iodine in their system to combat diseases. Okay, this is not the salt to use for that, or to depend upon to replace your iodine stores. What this salt that also does not have any of the anti-caking agents. You know, a lot of the salts, your anti-caking agents will prevent it from caking up or keep it from sticking together. This salt does not have any of that. All right, and it only has a few trace minerals of sea salt, which can cause discoloration, and you don't want any discoloration when you're pickling your foods. You do not want, you want your foods, when you look through that jar or when you're pickling your foods, you want your foods to look like they're supposed to look. You want pickles to be green and not have an off color. So this salt here, pickling salt, remember, there's no iodine. No iodine. You cannot use it to replace your iodine stores. It has very, very few minerals, very, very few minerals, because you don't want your food discolored. And it's just used best for just pickling. That's it. That's all. Now, like I said, that takes us through the remaining salts that we were discussing today. But let's just look overall at salts in general. Now, of course, the table salt is the most familiar ingredient on most tables today, most common ingredient, I should say, on most tables today. But that is not the only salt that you could use. Just going back very, very quickly, don't forget that you can substitute for half of the sodium and all the salty flavor you may desire. You can use the green salt. Green salt is very, very good for that, okay? And that's the salt that gives you at least like 11% protein and 20% fiber, zinc and other minerals. The green salt, made from the salicornia, the plant, is dehydrated plant. So look for salt alternatives. Look for salt alternatives when you are ingesting salt. First of all, of course, first and foremost, when I always say, when you are making any changes, even when even just in casual conversation with your healthcare team, you want to let them know that, what, I'm really going to look at my sodium content, and I'm really working to decrease that. Your levels could be normal, and they can find that out through blood tests and other means. Your numbers could be normal. All right, but that doesn't mean that we cannot improve. We can always improve on what we already know and how we're already doing. So in having that casual conversation with your healthcare team, your medical doctor, doctor of osteopathy, nurse practitioner, maybe even your herbalist, let them know that you're looking for salt alternatives. That way, everybody can get on board with your health. Okay? Everybody can get on board with that when you're focusing on that area of your health. Now, like I said, we named a few here. That's the newest salt that I have found out, salicornia salt, the green salt. And if you're having a problem with tumors, or if you're having a problem with any of the sodium issues, such as high blood pressure, things such as that, this would be the salt to use. So this would be the salt to at least try to introduce into your diet. And as I said last week, the salicornia, with its ability to help shrink the tumors, is more than likely due to the chlorophyll, because it comes from a plant. If you're looking to beautify your home and also have a relaxing setting, you may want to look to the pink Himalayan salt, the purest salt in the world. Okay, you want to look to that for healing properties there. All salts are good when used correctly. It's our misuse of salt and our lack of knowledge regarding salt and sodium that is within the salt that gets us into trouble. So as we are better forewarned, we are better forearmed, and we can correct whatever issues that we have been dealing with by making small changes, substituting our regular table salt for a salt that is more in line with our health, is one of those small steps that we can take. All righty. Now, maybe like I said, when you're traveling, you can go to France and you can try the Fleur de Sel, of course. Like if you're traveling to Hawaii or have family, like I have family over in Hawaii, native to Hawaii especially, let them, maybe ask them to send you a Hawaiian red salt or Hawaiian black salt, and you would like to try it. All right, the kala namak, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Kala namak, the black salt in Nepal. Okay, and in Nepal, the term black salt is very, very good if you're trying to cut back on animal protein, but you want to have that taste of the eggs. This is the salt to go to. This is the go-to salt. This is the one you would like to try. Okay, so yes, there are things that we can do as we learn and as we grow and as we latch on to different areas that, as you said, as we increase our knowledge, we can adjust our health and become more and more aligned with our own health goals. Thank you. And this is very, very interesting material. Thank you so very much. Now, I do want to say now, typical salt, and then leaving this area for just a moment, I will be providing in the members area an article. I did not write this article, but I've made it available, and of course, credentialing the authors of this particular article. There are many, many uses for salt that you may not have ever been aware of. And I'm going to leave that in the Facebook group just for your edification. There are many household uses. So if you have table salt around and you're like, oh my goodness, I have too much of this, I really I want to cut back and try another salt, don't throw it out. It can be used in many, many uses just around the home. One of the uses, is going to just let you in on a little secret before I post that article. One of the things that you can use regular table salt for is an egg. If you break open an egg, how many of us have dropped an egg on the floor and then you spend the next 10 to 20 minutes trying to get all of the stickiness off? And well, at least I do. Okay, maybe that's just my story. All right. But fine, according to this article, you can put salt on top of the egg. All right. Allow the salt to absorb the liquid, and it makes cleaning up a lot easier. Yeah, that's just one thing. That's just one thing. And what about using salt? What about using salt to clean the burnt food? For those of us who burn food, that is not my story. Burnt food out of a pan, out of a pot. Pouring salt directly on the food, on the pot, on the food that's in the pot, will help absorb whatever is in there, and then you can just wipe away clean. If you're interested in using more natural ways to clean your home, salt is a one way that you can go. I was very, very surprised. And like I said, I will make that article available to you later on today in the members area. So check that out. It's 10 great uses for salt that you probably never even heard of. Okay, all righty then. Well, one last quick review about sodium and about salt in general. Remember, salt is inorganic. It is inorganic. It will remain inorganic. There's no such thing as an organic salt. Salt is not a living thing. Therefore, it cannot be categorized as organic in any way. Salt is a mineral. It is a mineral. All righty, and it is the component of a positive and a negative ion. As salts are created. That is just a byproduct of the salt. Just give you a little chemistry lesson there. All righty, and of course, there are rare salts. We already talked about that. That's just focused right now on keeping our sodium content below 2,300 milligrams per day, below 2,300 milligrams. And remember, that is a teaspoon. That is simply a teaspoon of salt. So now, when we're really scaling back and we're reading our labels, it really adds up quickly. Look at the serving sizes when you're consuming, and look at your goal. Look at your goal. Maybe don't start adding up how much you believe that in sodium that you're eating. Like I said, go to your healthcare professionals and let them know that this is your focus now and you want to work with less sodium. I'm sure they'll be glad. I'm sure they'll be glad to hear it, and they'll be glad to help you out. Okay. So 2,300 milligrams per day is all that we need, all that we need. And we, of course, go way over that. Let's just watch it. Let's just watch our salt intake. And so we can all just realign or completely align our bodies with natural health. Now, next week's program, we will dive into pepper. All right. And pepper is a variety of pepper all over the world too. I was just doing a little bit of research last night on the pepper and the varieties of pepper, and they're just as amazing as salt. So next week, we're going to dive into pepper. So it'll be part 3 of this series. We'll be focusing on pepper and the many uses of pepper around the world. We even find out how many types of pepper there are. So please come back next week. And remember, if you can't watch us live, you can always watch the replay. Just go over to the media tab and click on videos. The videos are there, and then you'll never miss out. You'll never miss out on anything we're ever doing on Eat What. Well, guys, until next time, I am Beverly Sherelle Johnson. If you have any questions, you can always direct message me at Beverly Sherelle Johnson or at betterlivingwithplants@gmail.com. betterlivingwithplants@gmail.com. Invite others to the group. This is a very powerful group. It's a very caring group about getting our health and wellness in line. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. And I'm glad you're a part of this too. So until next time, guys, let's watch our sodium content. Okay. Let's watch our sodium content. And let's do better with our health in that area. And let's encourage great, healthy habits among our friends, amongst our families, so we can all look good and feel good and have a more positive outlook on life. I'll talk to you guys later on the next edition of Eat What. Bye-bye.